Wait for it to pop up over here.
Okay. Should be good. Hopefully everything is showing up. What's up to
There it is.
everybody? I want to shout out to everybody. Welcome to the Sauce Society. Let me make sure I get the make sure I put these up so everybody can know who we are. And I want to welcome everybody to Sauce Society. I'm your host, Ed Honcho, and this is also your host, Mr. Man Things.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome.
Y'all are new to this. Sauce Society is a little bit different than, Sauce Sports, or some of y'all may know the Kush Den or whatever it may be, and that's kind of more crazy conversation. It's much more interactive. It's much more participatory. Sauce Society is more 1v1, and we encourage you guys, of course, to chat amongst each other in the chat, and, of course, spill your thoughts and things. If we catch them, we'll make sure to speak on them. But more so, if you guys have thoughts, questions, things that you want to ask for the Sauce Society, we have a email at the societymailbag at Gmail, and you can send your questions there, and we'll be sure to answer them on air. And as if I'm not mistaken, that there are a couple of entries in the mailbag, and we want to make sure that we address those first, and then we're going to get into the main topic. But how are you doing this evening, Mr. Man Things?
Man, I am good. I usually have a little bit of something to sip on while we're streaming, but I accidentally drank about 15 beers last night after we did some welding out in the garage. I shot a bunch of footage to get the YouTube channel started, doing some welding and some practice and everything. So this stream is brought to you by water.
And yeah, I think I'll be joining the water party, because if y'all saw the last stream, I was sweating my ass off, and I thought that was a brilliant idea. Why don't I just go get a cup of ice water to keep myself a little cool during the stream instead of sweating all over the place? But
I hit it up. I just hit it up with a whole pitcher, man.
Oh shit!
I was hurting this morning. I was telling you, I fell asleep with that window open, and so now I'm all stuffy, and I'm just ready to knock this out of the park. So
good deal. So as far as the entries that we have in the mailbag, what do we have going on in there?
So we have. If you guys write into the mailbag, if you have any questions, the first thing we're going to ask you is, do you want to handle this live on air? Do you think it's going to help other people, or is this like a personal issue that you're just looking for some assistance with? So we have 2 entries. One of them is going to be handled offline. And then if, that individual wishes to bring everything into the open so that, she feels like it helped or whatever like that. But the one that we're actually going to be discussing on air is from Mr. Edman, and he said he thinks a good issue to discuss is college and why more kids do not go to school, and why do most people think getting a degree automatically guarantees you a job, and what are some good advice for using a bachelor's or a master's degree? Okay. So three separate things: why more kids do not go to school, and then why the people that are actually in school think that getting a degree automatically guarantees you a job, and then advice on how to employ that degree when you get it.
All right, okay. It's interesting. I have mixed views, personally, about college. I don't think it's for everybody. I think that, there are people who are, predetermined, that they've decided they're going to go. There's certain things, certain career fields that they want to be in, and of course those fields are going to require you to have a degree, to have some sort of extended education. I almost feel like, personally, and this may kind of lap over into the expectations of employment after getting a degree, but I think that jobs tend to look at college graduates as, okay, well, hey, these guys are willing to go above and beyond your average citizen. High school is mandatory. This person is willing to commit to something for a significant number of years. And I think, most jobs are looking for people who are going to commit to that company. They're hoping, I guess, for life. But, if they're willing to see that, hey, okay, well, this person is willing to go do this, to extend their education, to do these other things, to pursue advancement in their lives, then I think that may show a tendency that those people will be willing to commit to a job or something like this. I guess we'll stick on the first before I start talking about, the expectations of which day. We'll take it one part at a time. So, but again, with the why most people don't go, I think that you also have this belief now, and I'm partially in the belief that college may not be the only route now. I think that there are a lot of other options for people, especially with the advent of the internet and the opportunities that the internet can provide. I'm not saying being a YouTuber, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that there are so many business opportunities that can be provided via the internet or other things. So instead of going out and spending $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 on college, or taking out loans that you're going to be paying back, possibly for the rest of your life or the most of your adult life, I think people are just seeing these different opportunities and pursuing it. And I don't know, that we were always trained that, hey, you go to high school, you go to college, you get a job, and you live your life. But I think that people are starting to see things a little differently from that.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that one. I think some of the reason that people don't go is not understanding what they want to do. And I think a lot of that is because we kind of do some unfair things to younger kids that are just coming out of high school. You've got somebody who is 17 years old and feels like they don't have a whole lot of information about what college actually is, what it's like, but you're asking them, you're putting all this pressure on them to decide what they want to do for the rest of their life, because they may not understand the intent of a degree is more general, and then your work-related experience gets you the experience that you need, in your particular job. So, along with that, some of it is also environmental. If you come from a family that's not college educated, your family may not see the necessity for it because, like me, I am going back to college now just because I don't want to waste my educational opportunities. But whenever I started college right after I got out of the military, I was like, dude, this is bunk. Like, I'm gonna go get a job in the trades because, we're writing paragraphs in a college English class, and I was like, this is my entire first semester at college. Like, I'm a little bit different though. I wanted to be challenged and stuff like that. I wanted it to be more difficult. So whenever it didn't live up to that expectation that I had, I kind of set myself up for failure there because I had more expectations than what I should have. But so I think that kind of stabs at the heart of the issue too. There's not just one reason why a lot of people don't go to college, but I think it's part environmental. I think a part of it is a lack of education about college, like what it is, what you're supposed to do there, how long you have to decide what you want to do, because your first 2 years are nothing but general education. They're common classes with a lot of stuff, depending on whether you get like psychology. Obviously, those that can't do math do psych, but and that came from a psychologist. I'm not trying to hit on anybody with a psychology degree. That's my psychology professor in school right now said I didn't like doing math, and I can't do math because I have ADD. So I went with psychology.
But that's a good point you made too about people who are not necessarily who their families are not college educated, and they don't look to that as being you got a lot of hardworking blue collar families out there. They figure, hey, you know what? You get your trade, or you get into a field and you get some experience and you go to work. Especially down here in this area, I know a lot of families that are in in the construction business, in the contracting, and that's what they do. I know fathers who have sons, and they encourage their sons to go out and go take a class, get a trade, and work in the plants. And so, hey, you're going to make more money doing that than you're going to do getting a college education in most fields anyway. And so I think that. But I saw something in Edmund kind of stuff where he mentioned, he talked about the college system being broken, and then when you mentioned about, hey, we're just sitting here and we're focusing on some stuff that really doesn't tie into exactly what my degree is in, and you're talking about writing English paragraphs in English and things like that. Do you think that the way college is structured, the way that it's set up now, do you think that something with the system needs to be revamped to be more focused on specifics?
Yes. So here's the deal with me. You are not enabling people to pursue their passion, and people are always going to pursue something that they're passionate about or that they have a general interest in 10 times harder than they are with normal stuff. That's where you start getting your, oh man, I've got a 65 average in this class, but you know what they say, D stands for degree. So why are you wasting your money on stuff like that, And I think a lot of it is because of whenever they started giving out grants and they started subsidizing college at the federal level, that just incentivizes schools to make more money because now they know that they're guaranteed to get that free money. So what happened? A 2-year degree basically became worthless because it's just an associate's in general education or an associate's of science, something like that. And they just added more and more classes to it. But how can we milk the system for even more money? Because a college is not your friend. A college is a business. Exactly. And a business's job is to find out exactly how they can make more money. It ain't fair, but it's the way that it is. Yeah, exactly. If I were allowed to go in and restructure college, I would fire every professor who's never been in a work-related field, who they went through and they got their doctorate in education and then they became a college professor. I would fire every one of them. And if you don't have work-related experience, you're not getting a job in the college education system. Because how can you, if you spent 30 years in academia, yes, the only thing you know is 30 years of teaching. Yes. You don't know what's on the outside. So if I could fix anything, it would be to streamline the actual programs themselves to what you want to learn, and only things that are relevant there. So bring in the subject matter experts from all those different fields and get rid of all those bunk classes.
Yeah. And I think eventually that's something that they're going to have to start doing, because you're going to have a lot of people turning away. A lot of people are starting to see the college system as a scam, or they feel like, they're not necessarily getting their money's worth out of it. Now, I know there was a couple of other parts of the question. I think the second part was, why do people who go to college feel like they deserve a job, or that they're guaranteed employment, something like that?
Yeah, why do most people think getting a degree automatically guarantees you a job? I can tell you that. I can tell you the reason for that right now is because high school counselors and the high school system being set up as a feeder for colleges, the only thing they tell you is you have to go to college so you can get a good job. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They want you to make a decision at 17, 18 years old what you want to do for the rest of your life and what you're going to be interested in before you can even drink a beer.
Yeah, exactly.
But they don't want to tell you, that's I have a brother who's pursuing his master's right now. He works for a college in the area that I'm from in Texas. And his whole deal is he got a bachelor's in business, but he runs an IT department. So your degree is not what matters. It's just a piece of paper that you hang on the wall and that shows people, hey, I have the ability to stick with something. I don't have commitment issues.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
A degree is not your it's not your proof source. It's just going to open doors for you.
Okay, I agree. And I think, like you said, the school systems, and they make you feel like that's the only way and that's how everything works. So as soon as you finish college, you're owed a job. But at the same time, I think you have some people who feel like, okay, well, I've been in school, you've done the 12, 13 years of, your basic education, and you've done an extra 4 or 5, however long it takes for, to get your bachelor's, or however long you decide to stay in school. I think people feel like after they've committed so much time to educating themselves, or some people feel like they deserve to be rewarded now that, they've gotten a degree, that I should just automatically be rewarded with the job, not taking into account that, hey, there's a lot of other people who put in the same amount of work as you to try to occupy the same position. So, I mean, that's just the starting point. Once you get the degree, that just separates you. You know what I'm saying? It thins out, it sifts out candidates for certain positions. And so I think now you're invited to be a part of this select group, and you can apply for this position, but it doesn't entitle you to, guaranteed employment. And so I think
and the other issue is you're not the only fish in the pond. Whenever it comes to, like, a 4-year degree gets devalued more and more the more degrees that there are, or the more degree holders that there are, I should say. You think about it, is a company going to want to go after, let's say, even if you're just a cashier, let's say everybody in society has a bachelor's degree and you're going out for a job as a cashier, and then there's somebody who just wants a job, has 30 years of work-related experience, has been with a company for a long time, and they have a master's degree and they want that job as a cashier. It doesn't matter that you're super overqualified for it. That company feels like they're getting more bang for their buck because they need to pay you as little as possible while continuing to make as much profit as possible. So even if you've got a master's degree in ornithology or whatever the hell like that, it still makes you a more competitive member in the job market. So I think that in order for degrees to become worth more, because Ed, you and I both are free market sided, supply side economics. I think that if we really want to do something, we need to cut out the fluff with some of the degrees that there are, and we need to encourage more people to look into other ways of having a more rewarding and fulfilling life. Because, like I said, man, I don't know if I ever told you that, but I was going to school for petroleum engineering, and I thought that was just going to be the way that it was, man. Like it was just going to be the end all be all. I was going to get my degree and be happy, but I hated school, and I didn't feel like I was being met with any particular kind of challenge that I wanted. So I went out and got a job in the trade so I could pay the bills and calm my high-strung ass down for a little while. And I ended up actually loving what I do, and now I want to own my own business in it someday.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's a good thing that you kind of found the lane that you want to be in. And I think that's a thing too, that a lot of people go to college who do go to college are actually forced in that path because their parents are telling them that, like you mentioned, high school, the counselors, hey, this is the only way that people want to have successful lives. People want to live good lives. And so they go down this path because that's what everybody's telling them to do. And I think you get a lot of people who do get caught up into becoming or falling into positions that they don't necessarily, it's not the thing that makes them happy, but their parents, it makes their parents happy, it makes their family happy for them, and they're doing more to inspire those around them than their actual selves. So it's good that you found something that you actually like getting into. So like I said, that was a good question from the mailbag, and I know you said the other one is one we're going to deal with offline. So are you ready to kind of get into the main topic?
Yep, man. We already solved some of the world's problems. Let's talk about the president dicking down porn stars.
So yeah, let's talk about this, man. Now, when I first heard about this story, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't give a shit, because my thing is, okay, if it was before he was the president, and it's an issue with him and infidelity with his wife, that's a personal issue. But I've just looked at it like, hey, he does something that a bunch of guys, if they had the opportunity and in the situation, would probably do it. I mean, that's why porn exists. Obviously, it's people watching it. Obviously, it's an industry, and it does affect the way we do a lot of things in this country, even though people may not give it credit. But like I said, I think, in the sense of he's just being a man, I know a lot of people are starting to turn this into a much bigger issue. Now, I know you have more details on the legal side of it and some of the little nuances in that. If you would like to share with the society and then some of these things with me, what have you come across that has made this story much more interesting?
Man, it stinks. So it's just, if it looks like shit and it smells like shit and you step in it, are you going to be concerned? No. Yep. So the thing about it is the lawyer that Trump has on retainer sent a 6-figure sum to Miss Daniels. Yeah. And when they tried to question him about it, a lawyer's going to do what a lawyer's going to do to protect his client, because that's why you have a lawyer. But he said that it was in no way related. It had nothing to do with it, and it wasn't the president's money. It came out of his personal account. Yeah. And I was like, man, usually you have to pay your lawyer to do stuff for you. Yeah, I've never heard of a lawyer shelling out $100,000 to someone, and it's hush money, dude. Yeah. I support whenever the president does things right, because I treat him like a grown ass man. I don't treat him like he's not my president or can do no wrong. I don't subscribe to either one of those things. But dude, this guy there's something brewing here, and it's nothing new. Presidents and porn stars is nothing new at all. But yeah, there's been some payouts, there's been some other stuff, and now they think that they're going to start having some meetings with Miss Daniels. So we'll see what happens. Yeah,
no. So that's kind of the thing that I heard. Now, when I heard that myself about the lawyer saying that he spent his, I'm like, that's against the. That probably gets you disbarred or something like that. Lawyers spending their own money and not client money. That doesn't sound right at all. But and also I did hear the thing, and what I heard about from her end was more so is that they're saying that with the lawyer starting to speak on the case, or Trump's lawyer or something like that speaking on the case, now she feels as though the non-disclosure agreement that was originally signed between them has been voided because they're speaking on it. And so now she feels like she has the right to start speaking. So what I heard is that she sued apparently for not for money, but for the ability to be able to start speaking out and speaking to different publications, I guess, about and start telling her side of the story. And so I find that very, very interesting. But looking at it from a presidential position, I mean, do you feel like it has an impact one, on what he has going on? I mean, traditionally we've looked at the president's being married and, the first lady and all these things. Do you feel like that leaves a blemish on Trump and his relationship or his, as far as being in the White House and things like that?
Dude, when it comes to Trump, man, he's Teflon Don. Yeah. I don't think Trump's going to care about anything as far as the way he's viewed for, what do you want to call it? More of his personal stuff. I think that Trump wants his legacy to be what he does in office, directly related to his authority as president. So, it seems to just be an absolute roller coaster with old Teflon Don, because one day it's, man, he's lowering taxes and everything else, and then the next day, yeah, but he was pumping porn stars on the side and his lawyers paying him, and then the next day, hey man, did you hear that Kim Jong-un is wanting to talk to the president and de-escalate this whole nuclear weapons situation and yada yada yada? It's the more things change, the more they stay the same. But I think that with Trump, it's much more open and out there with his personal life than it has been with other presidents. I think that part of it is a byproduct of an entire segment of society that just wants to attack him and set him on fire and see him fall for anything and everything, whether it agrees with their morals or not. They may not even believe in, no, the president needs to be married, he needs to be faithful to his wife, but they'll hold Trump to that standard because he's got an R behind his name. Yeah. And dude, just the more things change, the more they stay the same. And I think that this is just a really good looking glass into what it's like for rich, powerful, affluent people that don't have to suffer the same punishments for their misgivings as we do, we normal cretins.
Okay. Now you said something very interesting, and it's a little bit off topic, but I want to talk about it for just a second. You mentioned the talks with the North Koreans, the Kim Jong-un. How do you feel about it? I mean, we've seen the spats and the back and forth, previously between Trump and Little Rocket Man, and so what do you really feel like brought this about? What do you feel like caused this change of heart in the North Koreans? It wasn't the damn Winter Olympics, I know that. Everybody wants to make it seem like now they have this peace and they've reached out to the South and all this other stuff, but it wasn't that.
Right.
But what do you think has caused the switch?
With everything else, we one of the things that you and I kind of hit on, we don't put it in words, but two things can be true at the same time. It doesn't have to be all black and white picture view of the world. I think that the first part of that, Trump speaks Kim Jong-un's language. He knows how to communicate with someone that is a barking dog. You put that motherfucker on his back, you hold him by the neck, and you show him who's boss. You alpha roll him. Yeah. So I think that's part of it. I don't think that it's, Trump being super hawkish or super intelligent on foreign policy. I think that those two just understand each other at an innate level, and they speak directly to one another. The "my button's bigger than yours" comment, people are like, oh, he's a president, he shouldn't be making comments like that. Okay, based on what? I didn't know that there were any guidelines for a president other than being 35 and a U.S. citizen.
Yeah.
So I think that the other aspect of that is North Korea stands to gain a lot from coming into the worldview. Or not the worldview, from stepping more into the light. North Korea has a huge stockpile of rare earth minerals. Well, not a stockpile. They are very rich in rare earth minerals, but they don't really have the industry, the means to move it, and they're a relatively poor country because without foreign aid being supplied to them, they would most assuredly starve damn near overnight. But I think that for him to bring his country a little bit further into the limelight and to start making some serious money, I think that it's a bargaining chip for Kim Jong Un to get more money in his pockets. I'm not saying he's doing it for noble reasons or for the good of his people, but yeah, just I wanted to check up on that real quick. So 4 hours ago, South Korea's foreign minister said that North Korea's leader has given his word that he is committed to denuclearization and a prime condition for a potential summit with President Donald Trump in May. So Trump laid his cards out on the table and said, if I'm even going to sit down and talk with you, you ain't going to play with no rockets anymore, little rocket boy.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think that there's a lot of things that go along with it. You know, these decisions don't get made just because, oh, he say you have a bigger button than me. You know, I don't think that that's we got to get rid of the rocket now. But I don't think that that's just what it was for. I think that there's a lot more going on behind the scenes.
Okay, man, we know where all the credit goes. It goes to Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman went over there. And he fixed all the problems, man. That's what happened. So shout out to Dennis Rodman. But
Dennis Rodman, best job by any Braca man.
Man, that's the craziest thing to me is how Dennis Rodman can go to North Korea and just fit in like it. Because he's about as crazy as Little Rocket Man. But kind of getting back to the Stormy Daniels situation. I mean, if any, and you mentioned that Trump really doesn't care. He's more about the policies and things that are laid out. He doesn't really care about the appearance or the optics of the relationship and things like that.
That's my perception of it. I mean, again, that's just us throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. Yeah. But that's my perception of it. Trump doesn't give a damn what you think about his personal stuff because he's going to do it anyway, and men have been doing it for hundreds and hundreds of years. All the presidents do it, all damn near. But yeah, I just think that Trump needs to enshrine his legacy and his works, and not so much what he does in his private time.
Okay. But do you see this situation having any possible real negative effect on his president? I mean, do you see there being any legal ramifications that can affect? I mean, not just public perception, that's irrelevant, but do you see there really being any legitimate legal ramifications that could create a situation for the president?
I mean, man, there's always the possibility. There is still a very slim Republican-controlled Congress. So if you want to talk about like articles of impeachment being brought against the president, they can impeach him without having him step down. So I think that there's always the possibility of it, depending on how the midterms come about and who takes control. I think if the Democrats take control of the House and they are afforded the opportunity to bring articles of impeachment against the president, if they really have all the stuff, they're waiting on the midterms right now. If they feel like they have enough to bring articles of impeachment against the guy, they're waiting on the midterms to see if they take control so they have the votes to get him out. And then, once Teflon Don goes down, you've got, oh boy, I just forgot the Vice President of the United States name. Pence. Mike Pence. Yeah. Old Mikey boy. You're gonna have Mikey boy right behind him, and then we're gonna get prayer back in school, and we're gonna get all of this other stuff. And so I think Trump was just genius with making Mike Pence his vice president, man, because he's like, you really want to get rid of me?
Yeah, well, you can deal with have the Pence suspense.
Spit my water out.
Yeah, but that's definitely a good idea. I didn't necessarily think about that, and I wouldn't be surprised though how you mentioned that if they do get the numbers, because not even having the numbers, we've seen 2 or 3 instances where the Democrats have come out and said that we're trying to issue an impeachment against Donald Trump, and they're sitting there and read the reasons why, but knowing that they're not they don't have the numbers. I guess that's just kind of a show for attention, because if it really doesn't mean anything, what is the point of doing it? You can let your intentions be known, but what good are they if there's no way of executing?
Politics is all about saber rattling, man. Yeah. You have to keep on the attack, because it's especially, I think the news cycle is like a quarter of a second now. News breaks in a quarter of a second. Yeah. So if you're not constantly on the offensive, the best defense is a good offense. They have to constantly be looking for that next thing, and they have to be supplying the media. They have to be getting a scandal out. They have to be doing something, because that's the way that Washington works.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and so we have this 24-hour news cycle, so nothing ever stops now. You're always constantly expecting something to happen, something to take place. Now, kind of jumping on that thing and then jumping back to North Korea for just a second, because I was thinking about that. Rex Tillerson was recently let go. And so how do you feel that affects the situation? Because he was the Secretary of State, right? If I'm not mistaken.
He was the head of the State Department.
So now, going into these meetings here with North Korea in the near future, changing up at that particular position, do you think that's going to have an effect, or do you think Trump already has an idea of what he intends to expect from these talks, and so he just kind of wants to, bring some fresh air in there, or does he feel like he disagreed with Rex on some fundamental issues that may have caused a problem? What do you see the reason being behind Rex getting let go at a time?
I think that firing Rex Tillerson was more about a matter of convenience for Trump. I think he gave the guy a chance, and he wanted to see somebody from the business world succeed at being the Secretary of State. But even with all the business dealings that he's had and everything like that, the guy just couldn't get a whole lot done. I think it was just, Trump's all about efficacy. If you're not being effective, then Trump has nothing to do with you. So there was a little bit of back and forth with Trump and Rex Tillerson, Rex Tillerson calling him a fucking idiot and all that kind of stuff like that. I believe that was Rex. But it's the same thing with Trump just is an opportunist, man. If you say something bad about him in the morning and then you do something great for him in the afternoon, he'll roast you on Twitter, and then he'll come out and congratulate you. Like, look what he did with Ted Cruz. He's like, I hated him, and then I liked him, and then I didn't like him again, and now I think he's all right. Trump goes with the flow of the situation, man. But the guy that they installed came from the CIA, so he's got more innate knowledge of geopolitical issues, and especially coming from high up in the CIA, what they do on a day-to-day basis, and the ramifications of the things that they take up every single day have massive ramifications for the country. So I think that it's a good move on him. We had the great experiment of seeing how many people from the business world and how many people from Breitbart could run a presidency. But now that the rubber is meeting the road and he's getting stuff done, I think he's just trying to get the right people in the right place. He's trying to make sure that there's nothing that's going to derail his big accomplishments.
Okay. Now, there was another little shakeup again, and I want to say that was with the FBI, and I believe it was Andrew McCabe or something like that. Now, I'm not as familiar with this situation and how all that worked out. Do you have any kind of details on what that was all about?
The House of Representatives summarily ended the probe into the Trump-Russia collusion case, and then Andrew McCabe was let go afterwards. Don't quote me on that one because I haven't really been following all that. I've been so tired of the past 400 days of hearing Russia, they're colluding with Russia. John McClane talking about the goddamn Russians, dude. Can I, just as an aside, man, John McClane, I think him and Wolford Brimley are like separated cousins by birth or something like that, man. If you were a loved one had been diagnosed with diabetes.
And old diabetes. That dude there is man, is he still alive? Or did he
Wolford Brimley? I don't know, man.
I don't know, but
the night that he died, his spirit jumped into John McClane's body.
I could definitely believe that, man.
Man.
But yeah, like I say, I've seen that McCain has been kind of opposed. It seems like almost everything Trump has been doing since he's been in office. And now, is that part of that maverick? Or is that just him being, spiteful? Is it? I mean, does he really have a code to stand on there, or what do you feel is his real motive?
Did you say McCabe or McCain? Like Senator McCain?
McCain, yes, McCain. We're talking about McCain.
Okay, so John McCain, senator from Arizona. I don't know what the hell John McCain wants, man. I think that guy has been in a spiral since he lost his last election. And he's trying to redeem himself because he didn't win a presidential election. So any chance he has to reach out and kind of like namaste with all the people that didn't support him and that voted against him when he ran against Barack, I think that's all he's trying to do, man. He's just trying to remain relevant because he sees the political tides turning and he thinks that they're about to end up on the wrong side of it. And he doesn't want his state to swing the wrong way. He wants to be able to get stuff done after he's out of office. So whoever takes over for him, I think he's trying to pad him up for the future. But yeah, McCain is just there's a lot of different things about McCain too, like Trump basically making fun of him for being a POW, you know,
man.
all that kind of stuff like that. You know, when you think that the Donald won't go anywhere, he throws open the door and turns the light on and says, "Gotcha, bitch."
Yeah, fucking Donald. He don't give a shit, man. He's gonna say whatever. Yeah, his thing was what I like my war heroes that didn't get captured or something like that. He said something off the wall.
Yeah,
like, he has no limits, and that's the thing about Donald though. Like I at the same time where I get where people get upset because a lot of people are soft about a lot of shit. You know, a lot of people don't want to hear the truth. Trump will say exactly what's on his mind, and I feel like that's what people need.
There's authenticity, man. Yeah. They feel like even if you're a fuck up whenever you speak your mind, at least I'm getting the real deal. I don't have, you know, HRC talking about being a different person, you know, in front of people and a different person behind closed doors, and then I don't know why people don't trust me. I'm just not trustworthy, and it's not fair. It's because I'm a woman.
Yes, it's the hot sauce that you claim you carry in your purse all the time. You know, when it's convenient, like I say, you pull up on the right shows, you do the right things, and then, you know, you're a different person on every platform that you're on, man. Of course, nobody's going to trust you. And, you know, there's so much behind that. But kind of backtracking again, and now McCabe, you mentioned that was he one of the ones that was caught up in the situation that was kind of texting about Trump with the other FBI agent?
Yeah, that was Struck, and I forget who the lady's name was, but they were basically talking about how they weren't going to find anything wrong with Hillary Clinton because they were talking about some interview she did, like a profile in Courage, and they dropped the suggestion in there. It's not in plain English, and it will never hold up in court, or at least I don't think, without a lot of supporting evidence to back it up. But they said something to the effect of, you know, yeah, it's a real profile in Courage since she knows that nothing's going to happen to her. So, you know, like I said, politics is saber rattling. You have to be on the offensive, and they took that up and they ran to the media with it, and then they released the memo behind it, you know, all that kind of stuff like that. So as to what McCabe's involvement with that was, I believe that there is something out there trying to tie him to Struck and his mistress, and kind of put them all three at the same place at the same time, or communicating together. And so Trump was in a really awkward position because he couldn't fire McCabe, because then everybody would, you know, go off that he fired the guy who's investigating him for Russia collusion. But man, as soon as the House dismissed the Russia collusion case, bam, that boy was out the window.
Don't waste no time. And that's one thing I will give that he acts immediately. That's you got to be a decision maker, and you got to be able to stick with the decisions you make. So, okay, and let's kind of get back, like I said, because we've taken the Stormy thing, and I've kind of asked some questions and kind of gone, you know, a little bit off the rails with it. But I want to bring it back to the Stormy Daniels situation and the smoke that's being caused around a lot of this. Now,
okay.
With the involvement of the lawyer, do you see him does that put him in some type of legal trouble? You know, excluded from Trump. I mean, with him being a participant in this.
Once they subpoena you, man, and you're not allowed to plead the fifth, you know, if you're in front of Congress, you have to testify. He's going to start trying to make some plea deals because, I mean, habeas corpus is one thing, you know, the right to a fair trial, but there is just a lot of stuff that would go down. So, I mean, I think he's fairly well protected right now. I don't think that he's going to suffer any slings or arrows quite yet, but I mean, the media's got to get a win too. You got to think about that, because the entire Russia thing, the media is just foaming at the mouth and rolling over on the ground right now because they couldn't pin Trump-Russia collusion down. And so now any opportunity they have that has a little bit more foundation to it or is a little bit more solid, they're going to do their fact checking. They're going to back it up. They're going to keep on releasing stuff, and they're going to push it.
Okay, I can definitely agree, because they put a lot of effort into some of these other accusations, and for all of them to have fallen flat. And I can definitely agree. The media, I mean, shit, since he's been running for president, they've been looking for the thing that's going to break him, that's going to bring him down, and they've yet to be able to accomplish that. You know, we thought it was going to be the Billy Bush thing, or, you know, some of these other accusations, or he said this, or, you know, that there was a lot of things they thought, okay, all we got to do is print this, and well, it's over for Trump, and it did nothing but bolster and make him stronger, make him, you know, better. But I can, like I said, I can agree why a lot of people are big Trump fans, because the honesty is a factor. I would rather someone tell me the truth and tell me directly like it is, as opposed to, you know, someone blowing a bunch of smoke on my ass just for a fucking joke, you know.
Well, do you remember, and this, I promise this is not off topic, do you remember whenever they captured Saddam Hussein and Donald Rumsfeld got to have his 15 minutes of fame? Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Yeah.
That's what Democrats are looking for out of Donald Trump. They want to be able to send somebody out and, ladies and gentlemen, we got him. You know, like they're looking for that one particular moment. They want to see him escorted off of Capitol Hill after being impeached. They want to see his ass get on Marine One. The helicopter is called Marine One. They want to see him get on Marine One and never come back.
Yeah. But I mean, but let's think about it. What is there really to gain from the impeachment of Donald Trump?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's a grudge match at this point, because they, like I said, they lost with the whole Trump-Russia collusion thing. They have to get a win between the Democratic side and the media. And he is, for all intents and purposes, to the progressive-minded individual, he is the Antichrist. So it doesn't matter if there's a purpose to be served. You know, we talk about these people all the time, like they generally like to run on feelings and emotions more than anything else.
Exactly.
You know, that's part of it for the voting base that actually swings that way. But for everybody else that's on Capitol Hill, it's just a vendetta. It's an unsettled debt because, you know, he has slighted their dignity at some point.
Okay. So even after this this administration, even if it goes, you know, another 2 years, if it goes another 6, do you see the trend in America going to people leaning towards more candidates like Trump, or do you think after that Trump was just a polarizing guy, and then once, you know, his time is out, that, you know, everything's going to swing hard left and to some of these ideologies that some of the people on the extreme left have?
Trump has a lot of things going for him. For one, he already had a lot of free publicity because he was the most famous, you know, I guess business guy / reality star that we've ever known. So he's a brand name. His last name is a brand name. So brand recognition was good for him. So I think that Trump might actually end up being a one-off president. I would like to see more transparency and more people being honest individuals. Like, we don't want politicians anymore. We want men and women to run this country, but don't play politics.
Yes.
So sometimes it's darkest just before dawn.
Yeah.
And if this is the worst that it's going to get, you see what happens whenever someone doesn't play the politics card and still gets shit done. It sends a message to everyone subliminally that, like, hey man, I hate that motherfucker. Like, I think he's the dirtiest, filthiest human being in the entire world. But at least he didn't just give me a bunch of platitudes and talk in very vague terms. Like, the dude says what's on his mind and he says what he's going after. So, and he's trying to keep his promises. So I think he's not shattering the mold, but he's digging out some of the corners so that, you know, stuff can't hide there.
Okay. Like I say, so I see, like I said, we kind of get a little bit towards it. I've seen a couple of comments, and I know, like I said, I've seen some new folks come in here, and usually what we do is we don't really get into the comment section too much. I saw some people saying some things. If we do, it'll be towards the very end, you know, if there may be a thing or two that y'all want to mention about what we spoke on. But it's more so, again, societymailbag@gmail.com. If y'all have things, y'all have topics that you guys want to send to us, that you want us to speak on, if you want us to, you know, touch on these topics, or topics that maybe in the future that you would like us to cover, you know, if it may be an idea, you know, you may have a show that you'd like us to speak on. If we get enough time beforehand, you know, it may be something that we can cover. It's a lot of interesting things going on in the world today, and we want to make sure that, you know, that we're covering the things that you guys want to hear about. But I want to say, I thought I saw something earlier I want to Take it just a second.
I think, who was it that said Texas was going to flip Democrat? If you think that Texas is going to flip Democrat, you're going to need to go on the old Google and Google the term Blue Dog Democrat. If there is not a candidate running in the state of Texas that is a Blue Dog Democrat, they will not win. Blue Dog Democrat is basically a Democrat with a Republican's voting record. He just has a D behind his name. So you kind of get a little bit of the taxation, and you also get a little bit of the union mindset. But for the most part, a Blue Dog Democrat is just a Southern Democrat, man. So unless they put somebody up there with a D after their name with an R voting record, that ain't gonna happen.
Okay. And what I think, like I said, I've seen people, mention it, like because some of the larger cities are starting to lean more liberally. I think you just have that with big metropolitan areas, with big areas. When you got a lot of people, you have, I think, just a lot of liberal people move to those areas. Probably because maybe more so in the country that those views aren't as accepted. Maybe they feel more accepted in the city. I don't know exactly what the cause of that is, but I think it's just more the big cities are turning blue. But I do believe the rest of the state will firmly remain a red state.
Ferocious because I live out here in California, and I live in the area of California that most people are moving from. It's really hurting like industry out here, but Californians don't give a fuck about turning Texas blue. It's not about like outsourcing enough people to keep Texas from ever winning a presidential election again. The people that are leaving California are leaving California because they hate California, or they're leaving because they made a whole shit ton of money and voted blue their entire life out here and said it was the greatest thing since sliced bread. But as soon as it's time for them to start paying all the taxes on their retirement and try to keep their way of life, they're like, nope, fuck that. All of a sudden, I'm a conservative whenever it comes to financial matters, and I'm moving my ass to Texas because they don't tax your retirement.
Yeah, and as I said, how many people are 3,000 people a week or something like that are moving to Texas now? Something crazy. It's an outrageous number. I mean, of course, not millions, but it's the population is growing. Matter of fact, I saw a beer commercial that almost kind of confirmed that, just saying that more people are moving to Texas than anywhere else in the country right now.
And Robbie, Austin's been weird, brother. The University of Texas being there, man. It started with the professors and, keep Austin weird, that whole thing. Yeah, they find some kinfolk down there whenever they move there. Yeah, there are a lot of people that are moving there from California. Whenever I was living up in Spring, I met a couple that moved down from Wisconsin, and I was asking them about, why they moved from there, and they were like completely and totally loyal Democratic voting base, and they were telling me about how they were worried to move down to Texas, and they needed to move to an area that voted a little bit more blue so they felt like they would be welcome there. And I asked them why they moved. And they said, it's because Wisconsin taxes your retirement and the state of Texas doesn't. So we moved down here right before we retired. I was like, so you want to be around people that vote like you, but people that vote like you don't like the consequences of it. So it's a little bit of cognitive dissonance there as well.
Okay. Shout out, I see Feroz said, shout out to Spring. That's where you live. So let's talk about, I want to talk about the pronouncement of this road real quick. This has nothing to do with anything. Because
no worries, dude.
I hear so many people pronounce it so many different ways, so I want to know your
Kirkendall.
That's
Kirkendall, man.
Kirkendall. I've heard. What did somebody said? They butchered it. I couldn't even emulate it.
They probably said it like the GPS, because if you put it on your GPS, it says Cooey Kendall.
Oh man, I believe it. I was GPSing somewhere the other day in the city. It was just like the way it pronounced. I'm like, that's not the name of this damn road. It was somewhere. I was in the southeast somewhere. I forgot what road it was. I was talking to my old lady as we were riding. I'm like, what the hell? Where's it telling me to go? I've never heard of this road before. Now look at what it. I'm like, oh, that's damn, I can't. It's slipping my mind right now. But I'm just like, come on, man. Yeah, the GPS, their proper pronunciation isn't always the best. They don't understand. They don't speak Houstonian.
Yeah, man. No, dude, I'm telling you right now, dude, what I miss the most is getting up on Saturday after I've had a couple of beers on Friday night and I, melted some metal or did some welding or did something like that, and taking my ass to Shipley's motherfucking Donuts.
Man, I'm telling you.
And getting some jalapeno and cheese kolaches with a big Dr. Pepper with that awesome ice that Shipley's has. Ooh. God, man, I miss being home.
Yeah,
I cannot wait to move back.
Man, so I say that's been a beef. I've noticed that. And that's the problem that we're getting with so many folks from outside of Texas moving into Texas. They're trying to change the things that we know and we love so well. They come in and they claim that the Krispy Kreme is better than Shipley's. They start riots. With these.
That's how you get your ass whooped in Houston, man.
Yeah, they talk crazy in and out, and the stuff like that.
Have you ever noticed how you can damn near spark a riot? Like if there's like 5 or more people sitting around, right? Because you know that your odds are that people, it's like really polarizing food. Mm-hmm. Like I did this as a psych experiment in my class the other night, and I told my professor that I was going to do it, and I was like, watch what happens whenever I ask people if pineapple is a pizza topping.
No, man.
And then you just kind of fan the flames a little bit, buddy. You like, I know, right? Who the fuck eats pineapple on pizza? I love pineapple on pizza. Man, but have you noticed how polarizing food can be? Yeah. Like, there's a lot of brand loyalty out there, because I think In-N-Out and Whataburger taste the exact same. There's just more to a Whataburger. Yeah. It's fresh ingredients. It tastes good to me, and I like Whataburger's fries more. I like the fuck out of some In-N-Out, though. But motherfuckers treat it like it's a Texas versus California, the pivotal argument in Texas versus California. I hear so much dumb shit, man, like, I eat In-N-Out whenever I want something fresh. Whenever I feel like I need to get something really fresh and it's still kind of fast, I go to In-N-Out. And I'm like, have you ever done any research on a Whataburger? No. Ever?
That's crazy. I have a buddy, and he's originally from Houston area, and he's done some other stuff. He's kind of moved around ever since he got out of college and everything. He's in Miami for a while. I've been living in California for the last few years. And I hadn't seen him in a while, and I talked to him the other day, and I was just like, so, man, we just talked about something. Somehow the In-N-Out came up, and he's like, oh, man, yeah, love In-N-Out, man. They got the best burgers. And I said, I don't know about our friendship. I think we've been apart for too long. I don't know if we can remain friends with the things you're saying here. But, you know, I can't, man. He's just like, man, but I've been there so long, and not being in Texas like that, it gets to a point where, you know, I don't have access to Whataburgers like that. I've grown into, you know, an In-N-Out guy. So I can't be mad at him for that. But, yeah, it's funny the things that people do associate it with. And when you're talking about food being such a pivotal thing, I think it's because of the way that we associate feelings and emotions with eating,
with food.
Yeah, it's supposed to just be about nourishment, but instead we have all these feelings, all these emotions, all this stuff that comes up when we start. You can just start talking about your favorite meal. You start salivating, and then your mind goes to a different place. You can almost taste it again, you know, and then you start reacting in a different manner. So yeah, I definitely can see those heavy associations that people have when it comes to food.
I mean, yeah, dude, you stuff some Whataburger in your mouth, your pleasure centers light up. It's like having sex. You know, there's so much different stuff now. I don't know if Whataburger uses MSG. I doubt they do. Yep. I would be surprised to learn if I could speak correctly, if they put MSG in their food. But, you know, food makes your brain pretty much gives you the exact same pleasure rewards, you know, the chemical rewards as sex these days, because it's so goddamn good and it's so calorically dense. Yep. Oh yeah, it's just ridiculous. But yeah, man, I just think it's kind of funny how there's also the thing we were talking about in the Kush Den was preference leading to prejudice, and part of that is the in-group out-group preference. So you know, you're talking about like you're going to feel more comfortable around people that have the same skin color as you, because you know your amygdala is not going to start winding up because it's not something completely different, and you find in-group, out-group preference whenever you talk about food, because it's everything has to be binary now. It's Whataburger versus In-N-Out. It's Domino's versus Pizza Hut. And fuck Papa John's. That ain't even a real food place, you know. Yeah. It's just you find that things fall into those two categories because people like to get behind something and get their banner waving in the air and give a couple battle cries and tell you why their shit don't stink.
No, I see people talking about the expensive. Absolutely. Well, here's the thing, Mr. Man Things. I want to say thank you for another good episode of the Sauce Society. Like I said, as we're growing and we're learning and we're improving on things, I think it gets better each time.
Absolutely.
I want to say shout out to everybody in the chat. Like I said, even though this isn't as interactive, you know, I appreciate y'all still continuing the conversation amongst yourselves. And like I say, when we get a chance, we will touch on some things and we will speak on things to. Like I say, we don't want you to feel completely ignored, but it's just a different style that we're shooting for here. You know, it's something different as opposed to, you know, like I say, the soft sports and the cushy. And this is just, it's something different. And so I want to say thank you to everybody who came through in the chat and, like I say, offered your comments. Again, another super special thank you to Man Things for holding it down and providing us with all the updated and extremely adequate information about some of these topics that we have questions and things about. Like I said, I'm working on getting everything in order and being more timed and more scheduled. So I want to say, let's say we're going to be we'll be on target for next Sunday.
Oh, absolutely. Did you get my message this morning about topics for next Sunday?
I saw it, and I don't think I was.
It was early. Okay. It was early whenever I sent it. I said sorry for the early text because it was like, I think it was like 4 a.m. over here before I was laying down to go to bed this morning. Okay. But yeah, next week I would really like to talk about, and not just specifically military-wise, but I would like to talk about post-traumatic stress disorder.
Okay, I think that'll be the perfect topic. I think that would definitely.
As long as that one's okay with you.
Oh yeah, more than like, hey, trust me, there's no conversation that's off limits. You know, I think that things need to be talked about. People need to have understandings about different things from different perspectives. So trust me, I'm always more than willing to talk about whatever it may be.
So yeah, and for those of you that have anything, you don't. It doesn't have to be an idea for the show. If you've just got some stuff that you're like, man, I really could use a different opinion on this. Turns out we're pretty good at giving advice too. We've been living a lot of life between Ed and myself. We got almost 62, 63 years on this planet together. So it's been fun and it's been good so far. But if you need anything, let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'd be more than willing to like I say, to cover whatever it may be. Like you just said, it doesn't have to be an entire topic for a show. It could be just something that you would like mentioned and spoken on. Like I say, so all you got to do is hit that societymailbag@gmail.com, and we'll be checking that. And like I say, we'll make sure to answer all replies, whatever, anything you guys send to that, we'll make sure to talk about.
Robbie G, I can't get you a milli, brother. I can't. I can't help you there. And Ferocious, write what specifically you want to know about the wall. And if you do it to societymailbag@gmail.com, I will get you some information that's actually relevant. It's not just a bunch of news articles. I will do my diligence and research the hell out of it. And societymailbag@gmail.com. You got it right.
Alrighty, yes, sir. Absolutely.
So write me in, and I will ask you if you wanna be done. You want this to be dealt with on air or off. And with that, we are going to get out of here because Honcho needs to get some sleep so he can get his rhythms back right and be at the top of his game.
Yeah, so like I say, we slide up out of here. I told myself I wasn't going to do it. We'll do a D, and it won't be as long as usual. I got one already pre-rolled, so it won't take as much time. And we're going to call it a wrap after that. And then from here on out, all future Kush Dens will be done at appropriate times. And because, like I say, I want to structure everything, because when it comes down to it, like I say, the soft sports is the thing that propels everything. And I want to be able to dedicate a lot more of attention to that. I like where the society is going. I want to be able to do some more things with that. And so the Kush Den is going to kind of be a thing. I'm not saying I'm pushing it to the back burner because it has its own kind of little lane, but it's an end of the evening, end of the day type thing, so I'm going to be changing that up. So, but with that being said, man, I want to thank everybody in the chat who came through. Again, special shout out to Mr. Man Things, and we are going to slide up out of here. And until next time, man, next Sunday we'll be talking about PTSD. Get your questions into the Society mailbag. Anything you want to talk about, we'll be more than happy to cover that. Again, y'all stay saucy, Sauce Society. We are out of here. Until next time.